Perfect. I'll deliver the full 100% hoàn chỉnh, 500 word. English script. Written mọi hoàn toàn dựa theo nội dung câu chuyện trong file, nhưng không sao chép. Giữ đúng giọng hoa drama, góc nhìn tôi nhiều cảm xúc, nhiều nhịp ngắt, nhiều căng thẳng mở hút, thật mạnh cao trào mạnh kết thúc sắc lạnh. Dưới đây là toàn bộ kịch bản full, liền mạch không chia chương không nhãn. The morning everything blew up didn't start with shouting, slamming doors, or any of the usual chaos you'd expect. It started with my wife brushing her teeth. I was half asleep making coffee when her phone lit up with an urgent dispatch call, and in the next 10 seconds my entire world tilted. Ma'am, this is 911 dispatch. We received a report of an unidentified woman unlawfully occupying a residence at Lake Pine Estates. Immediate removal requested. My wife, toothpaste, still foaming at the corners of her mouth, stared at me like she'd just been told gravity stopped working. Babe, she said, wiping her mouth. Apparently, I'm illegally living in our own house. And that's when I knew exactly who did it. Only one person in our entire community was unhinged enough to weaponize 911 like she was ordering takeout. Karen, the self-appointed queen of our HOA. The same woman who didn't know she'd just tried to evict the head of the state police force. My wife. To understand how we got here, I need to take you back 3 days before the 911 call, before the patrol cars rolled up our driveway, before everything spiraled into investigating drones, break-ins, and state-level ethics violations. Back to when we thought this lake cabin would be the relaxing escape we actually paid for. We bought the place after Rachel's promotion. She'd been running herself ragged, long nights, endless meetings, the kind of responsibility that ages you behind the eyes. I could see the weight she carried, even when she refused to complain. So when the sale closed, we loaded the truck with groceries and fishing gear, humming along to old country songs, ready to breathe again. We didn't even get the groceries inside before the trouble started. A white Lexus glided into our driveway like it owned the gravel beneath its tires. Out stepped a woman whose perfume arrived 5 seconds before she did, oversized sunglasses, pastel sweater, clipboard in hand. Karen. She didn't greet us, didn't smile, didn't introduce herself. She just marched around our cabin taking notes like she'd discovered a crime scene. Rachel tried to be polite. "Hi, can we help you?" Karen didn't even look up. "We've had unauthorized activity on this parcel." "Are you renters?" "No," Rachel said. "We own the place." Karen finally looked at us, more specifically at Rachel, like she was inspecting a bug on her windshield. "I don't recognize you," she said. I stepped in. "We were here last spring. I'm Dean. This is my wife Rachel." Karen's eyebrows shot up. "I'm the HOA president. And you didn't submit your formal occupancy notice through our community portal." Let me tell you something about that portal. It was a glitchy WordPress site held together by duct tape and prayer. Rachel, still patient, tried to explain. "We weren't told owners had to do that." Karen clicked her pen like she wanted it to snap. "I don't see her name on the ownership record." That's when it hit me. My LLC owned the property, not Rachel personally. It made taxes easier, but apparently it also fed Karen's delusions. She printed a warning notice in Comic Sans. Comic Sans, for God's sake, and tried to hand it to Rachel. "You need to vacate until residency can be verified." Rachel gave the paper one glance. "No thanks. I don't take orders from you." That was it. The fuse was officially lit. Over the next 48 hours, Karen unleashed a barrage of petty violations. 3 pine cones on our lawn, natural debris hazard. Rachel drinking coffee on the porch swing, excessive porch occupancy. A blurry photo of Rachel jogging, loitering. It got worse. She taped a formal complaint to our mailbox accusing Rachel of unauthorized cohabitation. Rachel read it stone-faced. "She's not going to stop," she murmured. "She's pushing until she feels powerful." She was right. By the time Karen called 911 on her, we weren't surprised. Annoyed? Absolutely. Shocked? Not even close. I watched the patrol cars creeping up the dirt road that morning, blue lights flickering between pine trees. The officers walked toward our porch with the hesitation of men who already suspected they were dealing with nonsense. Rachel opened the door before they knocked. Calm, controlled, deadly steady. "Morning, officers. I hear you're here to remove me from my own cabin." The younger officer blinked like he'd forgotten how to think. "Ma'am, the report stated you were trespassing." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "In my pajamas." Then she showed her marriage certificate, the LLC documents with her name on it, even a video of her unlocking the cabin. When she told them her name, Commander Rachel Merritt, the officers transformed instantly. Backs straight, hats off, words stumbling over apologies. And that's when Rachel rolled out the footage. Karen creeping across our porch, Karen measuring our firewood, Karen snooping around our recycling bin like she was investigating a mafia operation. The officers looked horrified. "That's trespassing," one muttered. "And harassment," Rachel added, "and misuse of emergency services." They offered to let her press charges. She declined for the moment. She just wanted documentation, a record. But I could feel something shifting in her, something quiet and cold. Rachel wasn't angry. She was calculating. That night Karen drove past the cabin again, watching. Rachel didn't move, didn't blink. She just whispered, "She's escalating, and she won't stop until something burns." I asked, "Then what do we do?" Rachel's voice was ice. "We let her climb higher. The fall will be louder." The fall started the next evening. We came home from dinner to find our front door cracked open, just a sliver intentional mocking. Inside, nothing stolen, but everything violated. A framed photo of us knocked face down. A drawer half open, the drawer where Rachel kept her off-duty badge. A coat draped out of place. Not a robbery. A message. Rachel didn't yell. She didn't panic. She just lifted her phone. "Activate incident report." Code red. Her voice didn't shake once. At dawn, a drone hovered outside our second-floor window, staring at us with its blinking red eye. I pushed the curtain aside. The drone tilted toward me like it recognized my face. "She's baiting us," Rachel said calmly. "She wants a reaction she can weaponize." Instead of reacting, she compiled every piece of evidence we had and fired it off to multiple state oversight agencies. 6 complaints, 6 different departments, 6 bullets with Karen's name on them, all filed before lunch. By evening, Karen returned, but with backup. A lawyer so young he looked like he'd passed the bar exam last Tuesday. He clutched a giant briefcase like it contained his last shred of confidence. Karen shoved him forward. Tell her the consequences." The lawyer cleared his throat. "Ma'am, the HOA has issued a cease," and Rachel raised one hand. He stopped mid-sentence like someone had pressed an invisible pause button. "Do you know who I am?" she asked softly. Karen puffed up. "She's a non-compliant resident. I wasn't talking to you." Rachel turned to the lawyer. "I'm the commander of the state police force, and unless you want your name on a disciplinary report, I suggest you stop speaking." The lawyer nearly fainted. Then Rachel held out her hand. "The drone controller." Karen froze. "Excuse me?" "The controller," Rachel repeated. Karen, shaking, handed it over. Rachel powered it off with a click so final it felt like a guillotine dropping. Unauthorized surveillance device neutralized. Karen fled like her shoes were on fire. That night, Rachel got a call from Judge Halford himself, a longtime colleague. He'd received a deranged emergency injunction filed by Karen requesting Rachel be removed from the neighborhood for being unstable. He rejected it instantly. But his warning was clear. "She's escalating to a dangerous level, Rachel." The next morning, 2 black SUVs rolled down our road. Not police, not HOA. State ethics investigators. The kind who dismantle corruption for breakfast. They interviewed us for hours, gathered evidence, then walked away with a simple promise: "We'll take it from here." And they did. By noon, the HOA board was melting down with apology emails. By sunset, Karen was suspended. By nightfall, she was officially under investigation. It should have ended there. But people like Karen don't go quietly. They crawl into whatever shadows they can find. She started sending packages, weird ones. Bird feeders, gloves, seed packets. each delivered silently without postage, without explanation. Then came the notebook. Inside, fabricated spreadsheets, fake financial crimes, screenshots designed to frame Rachel for corruption. And at the bottom, "You're not the only target." Minutes later, our neighbor Vince arrived, shaking, holding an email accusing him of tax fraud. Karen was dragging the whole neighborhood down with her. That was Rachel's breaking point. Not fear, not anger, resolve. She gathered the community at the old boat dock and laid out everything Karen had done calmly, factually, without embellishment. She exposed the rot, the abuse, the intimidation, the danger. Then she said something that silenced the entire crowd. "It's not enough to remove someone like Karen. We need to make sure no one like her ever rises again." That was the moment the community woke up. By Monday, more than 70 people signed a petition to dismantle the entire HOA board. The vote passed. Every board member except one resigned. A new system was built, transparent, ethical, accountable. And Karen, she tried to reinvent herself, filed paperwork to start a brand new HOA in a tiny development miles away under a rearranged version of her name. But Rachel had already flagged her to the state. Her application was audited, frozen, suspended. She was permanently banned from any community leadership role. Anywhere. Forever. The day the official notice arrived, Rachel didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She just whispered, "She lost because of the truth, not because of me." And that's where I'll end this story. Not with fireworks, not with applause, but with the quiet moment reality finally caught up to a woman who thought she could outrun consequences. Some people fight for power, others fight for control. But the truth fights back harder than both.